is gonna get increasingly longer and more complex. Alright, but I really hope you enjoyed tonight's video because I had so much fun generating these with ChatGPT, and there's some really wild ones in there. So with that being said, and of course without any further ado, let's get into tonight's stories, shall we? Alrighty, so the way this is gonna go down is I'm just gonna tell you the story, and then afterwards I'll tell you the prompt that I gave ChatGPT to generate the story. I'm not gonna do it beforehand because, you know, spoilers. So let's just get into the first one. The moon was full and bright, casting an eerie glow on the dense forest as a young woman ventured deep into the woods. She was searching for a lost dog that belonged to her neighbor and had heard it was seen in the area. As she walked, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every rustle of the leaves, every snap of a twig made her heart race. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her getting louder with each passing second. She turned around, but all she saw was darkness. The footsteps continued, now closer and heavier. She started to run, dodging trees and tripping over fallen branches, but the footsteps only got louder. Just as she thought she was about to be caught, she spotted a clearing up ahead. She sprinted towards it, only to come face to face with a creepy, haggard-looking man. He was wearing tattered clothes and had a wild, crazed look in his eyes. Now the woman tried to back away, but he reached out and grabbed her arm. "You shouldn't be here," he growled in a low voice. "This is my forest, and I won't let you leave." The woman screamed and pulled away, but he only tightened his grip. She managed to break free and started to run, but she could still hear his laughter echoing through the woods long after she had escaped. To this day, no one knows what happened to the woman, but it's said that if you venture into the woods at night, you can still hear the creepy man's laughter and feel his cold, bony hand reaching for you from the shadows. You may have seen a little smile from me at the end there, and it's going to become clear why I was smiling, but I don't want to spoil it just yet. So first things first, the prompt I gave ChatGPT to write this story was, write a scary story about a creepy man in the woods at night. That was the prompt I gave it, and I feel like we kind of went into an interesting direction with this story, right? Because it starts out as like a creepy encounter. This woman is looking for a lost dog, and she hears footsteps behind her, and then she comes face to face with this, what was it, creepy, haggardy looking man. I can't remember. So this just, it screams creepy encounter, right? But then the story ends with, to this day, it is said that if you go into those woods at night, you hear the guy's creepy laughter and you feel his cold bony hands grab you from the shadows. That screams paranormal to me. So I feel like, you know, this story greasy smile and beady eyes. He rolled down the window and asked if she needed a ride, but the young woman felt uneasy and she declined. Now the man persisted, saying that he just wanted to help, but as the young woman tried to walk away, she realized that the van was blocking her path. She started to run, but the man was quick and grabbed her arm, pulling her towards the van. The young woman screamed for help, but no one was around to hear her. She struggled and fought with all her might, but the man was just too strong. He dragged her into the van and slammed the door shut. As the van drove off, the woman felt a wave of fear wash over her. She was trapped in the back of the van with no way out. The man told her that she was going to be his, quote, special friend, and that no one would ever find her. Now the young woman was never seen again. To this day, people still tell the story of the creepy man in the white van and the young woman who vanished without a trace. They say that if you're walking on a deserted street and a white van pulls up beside you, don't get in. Run as fast as you can in the opposite direction, because you never know who might be behind the wheel. I mean, thank you, ChatGPT, because that is some solid advice. I mean, if a white van pulls up beside you on a deserted road, don't get in. That is some solid advice right there. And run as fast as you can the opposite direction. I mean, that is, that is solid advice, isn't it? Wow. I mean, this bot is smart. Okay, I can make fun of it all I want, but, it still came up with this story. The prompt, by the way, let me have a look. The prompt was, write a scary story about a young woman and a creepy man in a white van, because I feel like we need a white van in this episode, right? I mean, it's mandatory. The white van is mandatory, right? I love how it put special friend in quotation marks. There are some plot holes in this story, so this woman is walking on a deserted road. A white van pulls up beside her and asks if she needs a ride. She says no. The guy says, I just want to help. But then he reaches out and grabs her by the arm and pulls her towards the van. And then suddenly, she's in the back of the van. Right? That is exactly how it went down, right? Oh, he dragged her into the van. She struggled. He dragged her into the van, but at what point does he get out of the van, I feel like that was she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She went to check on the children, but when she entered their room, she realized that one of them was missing. Now she searched the entire house, but the child was nowhere to be found. Now as she was searching, she heard a soft whisper coming from the basement. She cautiously made her way down, only to find the missing child sitting in the corner, staring at her with a blank expression. Now the child didn't respond when Karen spoke to them, and they didn't even flinch when she tried to touch them. Now Karen was terrified, but she didn't know what to do. She tried to call the parents, but the phone line was dead. And as she looked around the basement, she noticed something even more frightening. The missing child's name was written on the wall, and below it were the names of all the previous babysitters, each with a date next to it. Now Karen realized that she was trapped in a haunted house with no way out, and as she looked back at the missing child, she could see that their eyes had turned completely black. The last thing she remembered was the child's voice whispering in her ear, "You should have never come here." Now, honestly, I was pleasantly surprised by this one because it was so much more imaginative and creative, especially considering that the only prompt I gave it was write a scary story about a babysitter. Now, obviously, there are a few loopholes, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I was sure that they were gonna give me some kind of story inspired by, when a stranger calls, the babysitter is sat there on her own and she's receiving strange phone calls or something. But no, this was completely different, and the twist with the missing child being creepy in the basement, I didn't see that coming. But it starts out kind of like paranormal, TV flickering, but nothing wrong with the circuit board. Then it goes kind of into a creepy encounter, the child is missing, we find it in the basement, and it has the names of all the previous babysitters with dates next to them written on the wall, so right, a murder house. But then somehow Karen deducts that she is in a haunted house and not a murder house, which is a massive plot hole. How did she come to that decision, to that conclusion, right? And then the child turns into a black-eyed child. So then it does turn out to be a paranormal occurrence. So, all in all, kind of imaginative, kind of creative, kind of scary, kind of plot holy, but not bad. Not bad. Now, I know that the prompt I gave the AI was not super complex or detailed, but I put this in third place because I feel like the actual story went quite a bit more detailed than the last two, and kind of, more all over the place. a small town that was famous for its bakery run by an old couple, Betty and Jack. They were the friendly faces of the town and everyone loved them. They would always have a warm smile and a kind word for everyone who came in, and their baked goods were simply to die for. The townspeople would flock to their bakery for cakes, cookies, and pastries that were beyond compare. However, things started to change. People who ate the baked goods from Betty and Jack's bakery started feeling ill and had a strange aftertaste in their mouths. At first, everyone just assumed that it was a flu going around, but as the days went by, more and more people were feeling sick. The town's doctor was stumped and could not find a common cause for the sudden illness. Now one day, a young woman came forward and told the town council that she had seen Betty and Jack acting suspiciously in their bakery after hours. They were always so friendly and chatty, but now they seemed to be hiding something. The council decided to investigate, and what they found was beyond their wildest nightmares. Betty and Jack had been poisoning their customers with their baked goods. They had a sinister plan to thin out the town's population, as they believed that there were too many people and not enough resources. They saw their bakery as the perfect place to carry out their plan, as they could easily add the poison to their recipes without anyone suspecting a thing. Now, the town council immediately shut down the bakery, and Betty and Jack were arrested. The town was shocked and horrified to learn what had been happening right under their noses. The once friendly old couple was now seen as sinister and evil, and the town was never the same again. People never fully trusted anyone after that, and many left the town for good. The bakery remained empty and abandoned for years, a haunting reminder of the evil that had once lived there. Oh, Betty and Jack. So the prompt I gave ChatGPT to write this was write a scary story about an old couple who owns a bakery and are poisoning their customers with the baked goods. Now, I had to tweak this story a little bit, and by tweak, I don't mean that I wrote any of it, because I didn't. But the first story that ChatGPT gave me wouldn't have been ideal for YouTube. It had a lot of things in there that would have gotten me demonetized. So I had to exclude certain activities feel like even just saying like it was the thrill of it, they wanted to know what it felt like to take a human life or something, would have been a better plot than, you know, thin out the population because there's not enough resources when you literally own a bakery that does really well. I mean, it could just be me. Let me know in the comments below what you think. How could ChatGPT have made this a better story? But anyways, we are gonna go to the very last story for tonight. This is also the story with the most detailed prompt. Alrighty, ready for the next one? You better be. So there was once a man named Jonathan who was fascinated by the dark side of life. Always look on the dark side of life. That was basically like his anthem. This is not in the story, by the way, this is me. He had a twisted desire for power and control, and he saw the perfect opportunity to fulfill it in an old abandoned hotel that was up for sale. Now Jonathan purchased the hotel and began an extensive renovation, paying close attention to every detail to create the ideal environment for carrying out his sinister plans. He soundproofed the rooms, installed one-way windows, and created secret passages throughout the hotel. The hotel reopened, and guests from all over the world came to experience its luxurious amenities. But little did they know, Jonathan and his staff were watching their every move, carefully selecting their victims and luring them into the hotel's dark embrace. One by one, guests disappeared without a trace, and their bodies were never found. Jonathan was always one step ahead of the authorities, covering his tracks and making it seem as though the guests had simply disappeared into thin air. Now, years went by and Jonathan's reputation as a master of manipulation and control grew, but he was never caught. He lived out the rest of his life in the shadows, never once being brought to justice for the countless lives he took in the hotel. Now, the hotel stands as a silent reminder of the evil that once walked its halls. Some say that it is still haunted by the ghosts of Jonathan's victims, forever trapped in the soundproof rooms and secret passages. And some even say that Jonathan's spirit still haunts the hotel, watching and waiting for his next unsuspecting victim to cross his path. Now, this one comes with a disclaimer. So, the prompt I gave it was inspired by a video game that I am currently playing, which is from the Dark Pictures anthology series. It's like a story game where you have to make decisions, and based on your decisions, characters live or die, basically. So your decisions have consequences. and it's the most recent one. I think it's called The Devil in Me or Devil in Me or something. And basically, the story of the game is it's about like America's first serial killer called something H.H. Holmes or something. But it's a made-up story about America's first serial killer who has converted a hotel into like the perfect place for carrying out murder. And the guests would check in but would never check out, and he would like write it himself like when they had checked out and stuff. Anyways, it's a good game. It's very creepy. The only criticism I have of it is that it's too dark. Like physically too dark. Like there's a lot of scenes where you can barely see. So the prompt I gave ChatGPT, inspired by this game, was write a scary story about a man who bought and remodeled an old abandoned hotel with the sole purpose of creating the ideal environment for carrying out murder. He was never caught. That was a really long prompt that I gave ChatGPT, and this was a story that he came up with. It was a wild ride, right? I mean, ChatGPT came up with the soundproofed rooms and the one-way windows and the secret passages, so I mean, I'm kind of impressed. This was such a wild ride, but like, it was so fun. I hope you guys had fun too. I really had a lot of fun playing around with the chatbot. The reason why I was laughing like at the end of the first story is I obviously generated like dozens of stories and selected the best ones, and so often the story would end like with people say that to this day you can still hear the laughter or you can still feel the hand. It would always end with that, like, to this day people say that. And that happened a lot in these stories as well. Not in every single one of them though, luckily. I made sure that didn't happen. But anyways, you guys, I had so much fun. Thank you so much for choosing to hang out with me again tonight. I will see you once again for next week's video. And really all there is left for me to do now is to wish you